Howdy folks, I'm here today to show you how I would change the foot switch in a Crybaby wah-wah pedal. And it's my Crybaby wah-wah pedal that I bought when I was like 11 years old back in 1971-72 at Rosevears Music in Aberdeen, Washington. And as you may or may not know, Aberdeen, Washington was the childhood home of Kurt Cobain of Nirvana fame. We were rocking back then. I left in about 1980, 1981, and went and did other things. So I didn't know Kurt, but I was all in on the grunge movement. So you may ask, well, let me get this first. Here's the cover plate of it. You take the four little rubber feet off, the cover plate comes off. But the big thing is that this was made in Sepulveda, California by the Thomas Organ Company before Dunlap bought Thomas Organs when they went belly up. Another thing that I would like to point out is that Inspector, hang on, let me put my glasses on. It was inspected by Inspector T, and I don't know if you can see that or not right there, but Inspector T, if you're still with us, which I hope you are, and I hope you're doing good, nice job, because this thing performed admirably for, well, going on 50 some odd years right now. So, when I found it in a box and hadn't used it in a while, it was kind of scratchy, kind of crappy sounding, and so I changed the potentiometer first. I got it changed out without any problem at all, and it's still just a little scratchy. Wasn't quite right, wasn't how I remembered it. So I decided, I plugged it in, tried it out, and it appears that the foot switch might be a little scratchy too. Or it could be, and I don't know if you can see this or not, probably not would be my guess. But there's a felt pad on the bottom of the foot pedal switch itself that makes and breaks the switch. And it's got a divot in it from me stepping on it all these years. So, but I figured, well, it could be it or it could be the switch. But since I'm in here, I'm going to change the switch. Now, you may ask yourself, why did an 11-year-old kid who was just learning to play guitar want a wah-wah pedal? And I'll tell you. I'm sure you've heard of the band Black Sabbath. So, 1971, 72-ish era, Iron Man came out. Great song. But I got the 45. The B side of the 45 was Electric Funeral. And it has a phenomenal intro that uses a wah-wah pedal. And I was like, I want to do that. So, a friend of mine had a wah-wah pedal, and I didn't know, when I was listening to the record, I didn't know what makes a guitar sound like that. And then we were playing, and he hit his wah-wah pedal, and I'm like, that's what makes a guitar sound like that. So I had to have one of these, and I ended up getting one. It's been with me all those years since. Hasn't been used in a little bit because I have another wah-wah on my Boss ME50, I think it is. But this is definitely the original. So I decided to change the switch, and I got a original Dunlap switch from a business that sounds suspiciously like a river in South America. But as you may know, or as you may notice, you can see that this switch and this switch are not quite the same. And that's because this one is a single pole, single throw switch. This one is double pole, double throw. That's why it has twice as many contacts. This one has 3. The one in the pedal has 3. And this one has 6. So I scoured the dusty closets of the internet for quite some time, actually, trying to find out, what to do with this thing, how to change this and make sure everything works. I had a pretty good idea, but I wanted to make sure, the internet's a pretty good resource, or it's also sometimes just a load of crap. But this time I found in one of the dusty attics of the internet a thread about changing the switch, and somebody else had got one of these and asked how am I supposed to use this. Several people answered. They said, well, you can just use the other switch, wire power to it, you can use an LED, or you can do this, that, or the other thing with it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do any of that. So luckily, part of that thread was a guy who said he was from Dunlap Company, and he said they just use all of the contacts. They just wire them all together. Makes sense. That way everything, if you lose one set of contacts, you still got the other one. So that's what we're going to do. Unfortunately, on his wiring diagram that he included in the thread, the wire colors are different than what I have. So I'm going to break out my handy dandy meter, and we're going to do a little ohms checking to see what's what and where's what. So to make sure that we don't wire something up wrong, and arc weld my wah-wah pedal, because I want to keep it. Another thing, when I was on that thread, and I saw it on a lot of the other threads when I was scavenging around in the internet, they were talking about these old wah-wah pedals suck tone away from your guitar. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. When I was using this a lot, I had like a $10 pawn shop guitar with a 10-watt Decca amp that probably cost maybe 15 bucks, if that. So I didn't have good enough gear to know if it was sucking tone from anything, but it sounded cool and I loved it. So there's a lot of people out there that have their schematics galore out there on the interweb to show you how to modify this circuit board so it doesn't suck tone anymore. I thought about it for a second, then I quit. I want to keep it stock. I don't want to drill a hole in it and put an LED or switch or anything like that. I want it as stock as I can get it, because that's how I've had it all these years. I don't want to do anything to mod it. I don't play professionally. Probably the chances of me filling a concert hall with my guitar playing and my wah-wah pedal are 0. So I'm just going to wah-wah around at home with it. So with that, let me grab my meter, and we'll get set up, and we'll start doing some ohms checking and start doing some desoldering. All right. All right, so here we are. Got my meter set up, ready to go. I've got my switches, so let's find out what the hell is what. Uh-oh. Okay, we got continuity between the green wire and the white wire. No continuity between green and black. Pop the switch. Now we got white continuity between white and blue, or white and black, my bad. And continuity between white and green. Okay, so the white wire is the signal wire coming off the board, actually coming off from the instrument. The blue wire is the wah-wah wire, I would assume. The green wire is a straight up wire. So as long as we get the other switch wired in to where it works like that one, we'll be in business. So let's move this to the side real quick. See what we got. Let's do this. Let's do this. There we go. Let's make that switch again. Okay, we're having trouble finding the actual main wire. That might be it. Yep. Alright, so the white wire will go on the center, and then it doesn't matter where you put the other two, just as long as it switches. If it switches back and forth, it doesn't matter whether it's wah-wah or straight, so we'll We got to remember that the white wire is in the middle. So let me take my handy dandy wiring diagram and go white, and then don't matter. So we'll call that one 2 and this one 3. As long as we get the white wire where it belongs, everything else should work like a champ. All right, next step. Let's desolder. First off, let me say something really important. If you look right here, where's my pointer? There it is. Inspector T inspected this wah-wah pedal back whenever it was built in Sepulveda. And Inspector T, if you're still with us, thank you for doing a good job. This thing has held up through the years, 50 some odd years now. Hope to give it to my grandson who plays guitar. He can keep playing it. If we get 100 years out of it, that's awesome. So thank you for your inspection, and I hope you're still with us and doing good. All right, here we go. We're going to do a little desoldering, unsoldering, something of that nature. Anyway, so a couple of soldering safety tips. Soldering irons are hot, damn hot, really hot, and they will burn you. So don't touch the business end of the soldering iron. Don't poke it in your eye. Don't poke it in someone else's eye. Don't play around with them. If you can, try to avoid inhaling the fumes, because they're not. Some of the old stuff, as you can see, this is lead-free flux. Some of the older stuff is not necessarily lead-free. So if you got old flux, I don't know if you would or not, probably not would be my guess. But just be careful. Be careful around it. You can never be too careful. So we are heating up our soldering iron. We're using a little tip. And let us, when y'all weren't looking, I actually loosened the switch up a little bit. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Well, I'll tell you what. That didn't work out quite like I planned, so let's do this instead. Oh dear. Okay, green wire. Blue wire. Hopefully got some slack for the blue wire. And I rotate this around a little bit. There we go. White wire. There we go. As you can see, I am, or you can't see because I got it turned the wrong way. Open this up, pulling the switch out. There it is. Alright, my old switch. Yeah, it seems like it makes and breaks okay. So I would bet you $1 to a donut that it is probably the little felt piece that I'm going to try to pull off right now. So that I can show you of what I speak. Alright, I don't know if you can see it. See that divot in it? I think that was caused by me stomping the pedal for years and years. So it's entirely possible that it had a little bit of got a little bit old and wasn't making the switch real well. It felt kind of spongy and weird. So next thing we're going to do is cut some of this wax string so we get a little bit more wire for our new switch. Sorry, Inspector T, but I'm undoing your inspection. That's some stout stuff there. Or I have some dull wire cutters. One of the two. Bam. I've used a lot of wax string in my previous career. Nothing quite so tough as this to get off. Maybe it's so old it's petrified. There we go. Alright. Now we're in business. Just make sure that when I soldered this potentiometer in it, I did a good job. Yeah, looks like a pretty good job. Looks almost to NASA standards, sort of. Okay. Unfortunately, I couldn't find my wire strippers, so I must apologize. Probably should have got those lined up first, but I couldn't find them. So I'm not 100% sure where they ended up at. However, we're going to trim this back. I don't have to go overly far. Right about there. Another dangerous game here is doing this. Alright, I decided that wasn't the X-Acto knife wasn't quite the way to go, so we're going to use wire strippers. Or maybe we're not. There's one. That's kind of a fight. That's why this thing lasted so long. This insulation is no joke. Kind of tight quarters. Well, we are going to have to do plan B, or C, whatever plan we're on right now. Oh, we got a nick in the wire right here, so we'll finish it up with a single edge razor blade. Do that number with it. One more to go. When I was doing mod retrofit on fighter jets, we used razor blades to strip wires in close quarters. Once again, you got to be real careful because you only get one slip and then you're headed to the emergency room. Also, you got to be real delicate so that you don't cut the underlying wire. There we go. All right, look at this. So, this one's all the way down. So let's route our wires. Fits like a champ. I have to move it over here so I can get a little bit better gription on it. Just one at a time, it looks like. First our washer. A little trouble with my sausage fingers. Do this. Yoink. Alright. I have to get creative. There we go. And that was creative enough. We're going to tighten that bad boy down. This is 15 millimeters, as most of you may or may not know. It's a stupid thing to say. 15 millimeters is also a ½ inch. And I don't know for sure if I should be able to get the little piece of rubber in there with a little bit of help. So, here's what she looks like before we get soldering. Stay right there, it's not going to get in the way. As you may have remembered from our ohms checking of the switches, the white wire needs to go. We might route that. No, we don't want to do that because it'll be in the way of the potentiometer. So we're going to route that through. Go back and snip her off right about there. There. This is what's known as a heat sink. I've never had a ton of luck with them, but I also don't want it to melt the insides of my switch or any of the insulation or anything else. So we're going to see if we can't get it to clip onto this before we commence soldering. Yeah, it's not the best thing in the world, but it should get the job. Well, let's try and see if we can do it like so. That could work. It's a Radio Shack heatsink. That bad boy's old. There we go. We'll try that. Whew, don't breathe that in. Well, shit. Now let's just go for it. The nice thing, that what you just heard there was my soldering iron going to sleep. When you put it back in its holder, it goes to sleep and starts cooling off. But I can tell you for a certain sure, oop, need a little bit more down there. As soon as you pull it out, it starts heating up, and it heats up in seconds. It's pretty phenomenal. Make sure we got a good connection. That second one didn't quite take all the way. That time it did. All right, so up to this point we got the white wire in the center, and like I said, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of difference which one goes where, but since this one's farthest away, I'm going to put it on the very far terminal. Alright, things are going smoothly. If you were doing this to NASA standards, you would clean this off with alcohol, as well as all your other surfaces that the solder is contacting, just to make sure that they are perfectly clean. If I'm playing guitar in space, then things have gone quite a bit better than I figured they were going to. So we got that going for us. Apologize if my hand is getting in the way of you seeing this solder job, but sometimes that happens. See if we can get it to draw back a little ways. It's a good joint. Maybe not so good. Let's see what we got going. Let's see if we can suck a little bit of it back down into there. Good, 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 good. And what you really don't want to have is what I just did. And drop little pieces of solder and little pieces of the wire into your circuitry, because normally shit goes bad from, stuff goes bad from there. So, on the list of things to do, that's on it. Alrighty then, let's go through there. There we go, we got her. Hooray for us. Last wire going on. Okay. I don't like using little tiny pieces. Oh, this is still good enough. That's still big enough to use. When it gets down to about 2 inches, I don't like using it. A little flux on there. Not related to the capacitor, unfortunately. Yow. Remember that part about don't poke yourself with your hot iron? Well, I was able to. There, I think we got her, by Jove. Hooray. Oh yeah, you're there. Let's see, something small, this will work. Can't get that out of there. There. That'll be okay. That's good. Good, good, good. Good. All's good in the neighborhood. So let's break out our trusty meter who's gone to sleep. Let's see what's up. Oh, shush. There we go. All right. Let us see if we can mash the button. That should have done her. Let's see. I didn't do her. That did it. All right. I need a little application of a screwdriver. All right. So, new switch is soldered in. Ohms check's good, just like we want it to be. I am going to glue this pad down again, and then we will let it sit for about 24 hours, and we're going to test her out. Okay, welcome back to our show, sort of. I've decided that I'm going to loosen this switch up a little bit and get it kind of out of the way so I can have an easier job of putting the little rubber pad that I'm about to make into it. Let me take my BCs off and put my VA issued sunglasses on. Alright. Or issued glasses. These are actually pretty phenomenal, so good on you, VA. Okay. So we're going to move that up. Ooh. I don't know if I can get an X-Acto knife in there. Nope, hopefully the super glue will work. So we're going to do another little trick. We're going to try to prop this pedal up. There we go. Give me a little bit more gluing and messing around room. We're going to cut us a little piece of rubber. And if I recall correctly, this piece of rubber was like, I don't know, $1.50 or something from the same company with the name like a river in South America. So you see I've got enough for about 355 years more of these little rubber pads for my wah-wah pedal. So, or maybe even more than that. That's not quite gonna work. Whoa, yeah. Good thing it's not an airplane. Okay, we're gonna need just a little bit more space. Probably should have left it out, but it's a lot easier to solder something that's stable than it is something that's flopping all around. So this is the next best solution. Alright, I don't know if you can see this. I doubt if you can, unfortunately, but we will try to get it right around there for you. I'm going to slop down a little glue. Alright, here we go. So we're going to slop down a little bit of glue, or perhaps we're not. Also, the goal here is to not glue your fingers to the wah-wah pedal. Unless it is totally unavoidable. Shit. Shit, and double shit. Okay. We should be in business. Yep, that puts us into business. Be right back momentarily. All right. So, leave that as it is for the time being. And we are going to see if we can't glue. We'll let that set up a little bit. Actually, we can do this, can't we? That'll keep it up there. This came off over the course of several wars. Let me get something to clean that up with a little bit. Alrighty then, here I am. Okay, so remember I told you that you should use alcohol to clean things up if you were soldering to NASA standards? Well, here it is, and we're going to use it. We're not soldering anything, but maybe we're gluing to NASA standards. So we're going to clean up the crud. There's a lot of crud. There's 50 some odd years of crud. I don't know if I should just, no, I'm not going to peel it off of there because quite frankly, the less I disturb a 55-year-old piece of equipment, probably the better off it'll be. So once I get done gluing this down and the glue sets up, for better or worse, well, let me finish this and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. Held up pretty good since super glue hadn't been invented yet, or if it had, nobody that I know of had ever heard of it back when I bought this thing, when I was still playing Little League. All right. Nick, you want to be the weight? You can be. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Nikola Tesla being the weight for this, which works out quite nicely. Okay, so the heavy lifting's done. As they say, it's all over but the shouting right now. So we're going to let this sit for 24 hours, and then we are going to ops check it. And if you might be asking yourself, how am I going to ops check it? Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to play Electric Funeral by Black Sabbath. I haven't played it in years, but I got the music because I bought a Black Sabbath songbook. And it kind of goes, wow, 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 wow. But anyway, you'll get to see that later. Some of the other good songs that I would like to play the wah on. Man in the Box by Alice in Chains. And this is going to be Roma, which means right out of my arse. I don't know for sure. People say that Jerry Cantrell used a talk box and a wah wah pedal. I never got to see Alice in Chains live when Lane was still singing with him. Miss you, man. He was a good singer. But I did watch a couple of YouTube videos of them playing this song, and it looks to me like when Lane is singing, Jerry's just using the wah wah pedal, and that Lane is using his voice, which would make sense because he could do that. I also saw them playing the same song with Sebastian Bach singing after Lane had left us, and it looked like that they were using the wah wah pedal and the talk box, because I don't know about Sebastian Bach. He might not have been able to hit the same sort of sounds that Lane could. So I don't know. Also, my man back here, Jimmy Page, No Quarter, another great song using the wah wah pedal, and I do believe that he used the Crybaby as well. So, all that being said, like I said, it's right out of my arse. So, especially the part about Alice in Chains and what Jerry was using for equipment when he was playing Man in the Box. But it's a cool song, so I'll say that for it. So, we're going to let her chill for tomorrow, till tomorrow, and then we're going to give it a whirl. So, peace, love, and rock and roll. We'll get with you later. All right, good afternoon, almost afternoon, Veterans Day, 2023, November 11th. I have finished, hang on a sec, I have finished with the mod of the Crybaby. As you can see, I rigged the switch, the rubber pad's in place and staying, floor pad is in place and staying, so I ain't gonna lie to you, I've already tested it, seems to work good. But we're going to test it for the record, so let's plug it in. Give you a little background. I bought this music book in the 70s. Remember I told you that I wanted to play Electric Funeral. And you can see that it has 3 other albums on it. Master Reality, Paranoid, and Black Sabbath. So a lot of good songs in here. My mom didn't care for it a great deal, but I was only 12 or 11 or 12. So here's the Electric Funeral music. So you can see it's a little worse for wear, but I also bought it at Rosevears Music in Aberdeen, Washington back in 1971 or 2. So without any further ado, let's crank this thing up and I'll show you how it works. Maybe even get a riff or 2 out of it for Electric Funeral without screwing it up. I got a pick. No, I didn't. There's one on my guitar. So I got it plugged in. Got it plugged in straight to my line 6 amp. Nothing in it to mess up the signal. This is my Strat, which I also absolutely love. So just tuned her up. Let's get the cords out of the way. Fire this thing up. There's a lot of computers in here, so I get some 60 cycle hum when I play in here. So. That's the no wah version. This is the wah version. no scratchiness anymore. So we shall believe I'll call that a success. It's back in business. So the old girl still kicking. So, just to recap real quick, as everybody knows who's interested in fixing things, projects like this, projects of any type where you're fixing something, you always run into problems. Something too small, something too big, something too something, or not enough something. Anyway, one of the things I learned is back in the 60s, probably when this thing was built shit to last. The insulation on the wiring was tougher than any insulation I've ever seen, and trust me, I've stripped an awful lot of wires in my day, and that was the toughest insulation. My wire strippers wouldn't even go through it. I had to use a razor blade. The wax string, I don't know if it was iron coated, couldn't get through it with a razor blade, so it was tough too. But back then they built things to last. Like I said, I bought this in 1971, so that's what, 52 years? Still kicking. One switch change, one potentiometer change, everything's still stock. I didn't hear it sucking tone from anything, but I'm not doing this professionally. I do it in my other room just because I love doing it. So, thanks for coming along for the ride. I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. Hope it helps you some if you have a crybaby out there that needs a little work. Peace, love, rock and roll. Keep on rocking, and thanks to all the veterans out there. See ya.